Welcome to Mastering Life's Adventures, an educational podcast about tapping into your true self, the soul, the substance of your life, to discover what life's ups and downs are really about, and how to have a greater sense of purpose, peace, joy, and fulfillment. I am Dr. Judith Holder, your host, coach, psychologist, fellow seeker who enjoys diving into the connections between spirituality, psychology, wellness, and your everyday life's adventures. All preparing and polishing you like the facets of a magnificent diamond to be your best self. If you're craving more from your life, you are in the right place. Come, let's journey together and transforming what you know into who you really are. Mastering Life's Adventures begins now.
Hi, I'm back with a delightful guest who's going to talk about something that I think we all need to hear more of, because we never think about what we're eating and how it affects our body. And in fact, sometimes we just eat to eat because we like it, but is it really healthy for us? We don't know necessarily, or we do know, and even when we do know, we still eat what we want to eat. I have a guest. I'm going to ask him to introduce himself. This episode that we're talking about is Eat to Thrive, unlocking youthfulness and vitality. If we can unlock a youthfulness that we all are looking for, especially as we mature in age, and then have a greater sense of vitality, which is energy, that allows us to feel like we're thriving, wouldn't that be a good thing? So Oliver, why don't you introduce yourself?
My name is Olivier Mankondo. I'm a speaker, author, weight loss and wellness coach. In 2016, I changed my life into a plant-based nutrition. And because of that, I went through a very profound transformation. I decided to start talking to people, sharing my experience so that people can really change and transform their lives. So basically, in a nutshell, that's what I do now.
One of the things that would be good to maybe dive into is, so, how were you raised with this kind of awareness of wanting to have a plant-based diet, or were there things that happened for you that evolved you to that point?
Yeah, so what happened is that when I grew up, at that time, there was no computer games, no video games. So we were forced to play outside, running around, climbing trees, playing football. So we were always in movement. And I was not really exposed to a lot of animal product, dairy product, and processed food. And at my 8th year, I was 220 pounds. And because of that, I started to have loads and loads of health problems. Are starting to suffer from high blood pressure, and people should know that high blood pressure is a very dangerous disease. Usually 50% of people who suffer from heart attacks, cardiovascular diseases, problem with the kidneys, it's because of high blood pressure. I was suffering from high blood pressure. I had massive headaches every day, dandruffs, chest pain, back pain, abscesses, joint pain, and a lot of dental problems because of my bad eating habit. So usually
Slow
until
down
midnight.
a little bit. There's a lot that's going on that you're unpacking. And I think you're saying something important, that first you were really lean. Yeah. And then coming into a different culture. Where in Africa were you? Your origins?
From the Democratic Republic of Congo.
So then you go into this new world. And everything enticed you? What happened for you? That it's just not the processed foods, but also how much we're eating of the processed foods, right? So let's talk about that a little bit, because we live life unconsciously sometimes. And what we're trying to do is to live more intentionally and conscious. Did you find that you were just delighted by being in a different culture and started just to sample everything? What happened?
Yes, it's because, as I said, back home, I was not exposed to a lot of animal product, dairy product, and processed food. So here in the UK, it was like a discovery. So I wanted to eat as much as I can, a lot of stuff, dairy product, cakes, biscuits. At every meal, I would have some kind of animal products. For example, in the morning, I will have some salami, some bacon. Back home, I was not eating all these things a lot. So this was a new discovery, and I was eating a lot of that. And starting to put on weight. But for me, the weight was not really the problem, because back home, when people are overweight, it's usually a sign of wealth. So for me, being fat or overweight was not really a problem. It's just the diseases that started to all these chronic diseases. That was the problem, but it was not really the weight.
So when did it first begin? You started finding your body starting to move to ill health, not good health.
Yeah, so I was starting to feel bad because I came to the UK. It was in year 2000, and I was starting to really feel bad after maybe 3-4 years. But for me, I thought it was just normal. We've been told that when you grow older, you need to be sick and all that. So for me, it was normal. It's only in 2014 that I was officially diagnosed with high blood pressure. But before that, I was not feeling well already.
Mm-hmm. It really ties so much into what happens for the soul. So sometimes the soul goes through this sense of weight. The weight can be emotional or physical or mental that's placed upon it. It doesn't feel well, but it's trying to continue to function. In the process of trying to function, it gets fragmented. So it doesn't quite know itself. Just as we sometimes don't always know who we are until we start to be intentional and say, okay, is this something I really want to continue or I don't want to continue to do? And we start being a little bit more, is the word discriminating or discerning? What do you think?
Yes, I think the problem is the way we've grown up and all that. We are not really intentional. So people just do things without thinking. They just do what most people do. And for me, that was exactly the same. Because people were eating that way, I was doing the same as everybody else. It's just that sometimes you will wake up from your sleep and then you start doing things differently. Mm-hmm. But usually people do what the majority of people do, and that's what I was doing as well. For me, I was not really intentional. I didn't even know that I was able to do that. Life was just on autopilot, and that's usually what most people do, which is not really right, because you're not really living intentionally. You are just surviving.
I like what you said about waking up one day and realizing you maybe want something more. That's actually what the soul likes. The soul wants to be awakened. If we continue living life unconsciously, then we kind of do what everyone else does. Not to say everything everyone else does is bad, but it's just kind of sleepwalking through life. And what the soul wants us to be able to do is awaken to something more, something greater than ourselves, something that we have a path, we have a mission, we have a purpose. And sometimes we don't feel that sense of purpose. And so we continue to live the way of the world. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, exactly. People don't really know what they have to do, and they just live like everybody else. But for me, like you just said, the way I was able to wake up from my sleep is that just one day, because of all the suffering I went through, I was just watching a program on YouTube, and there was an Indian yogi who suggested that by stopping eating animal product, it was possible to reverse 70% of the chronic diseases. And because my health was pretty bad, I said, okay, I'm not losing anything. I will just do that. So it was a Wednesday that I watched the program. On Thursday, I came back from work. I had my last meal of meat. And on Friday, I went cold turkey. And from there, stuff started to change. After a week, I was able to lose already 5 kilos, which is 11 pounds. And then after 4 months, I went to the doctor, who told me that I will be on medication for the rest of my life. After 4 months, my high blood pressure was completely gone. After 9 months, I was able to lose 77 pounds. As you can see, this is me, the way I used to be.
They can't necessarily see because this is going to be auditory, but he is talking about how on one side, he's very plump. And then on the other side, he slendered right on down. That's remarkable. Very nice.
Yes. And because of that, I was able to really lose weight and slow down my aging process as well. A lot of people, when they see me, think that I'm in my late 20s, but I'm actually 54. And that's what I've been able to do. And because of that, I'm starting now to become more spiritual. I'm starting to do meditation, mindfulness, to be present. And that's how my spirit was really awakened, just by starting eating this plant-based nutrition.
So there's a connection between spirituality and the levels of spirituality we go through, and also the cleansing of ourselves, the cleansing through the right diet or right eating, as the Buddha would say. The right eating allows us to take off some of the weight, like you mentioned, but it's just not physical weight. It may also be mental weight, or it may be emotional weight that we're able to let go of in order to open up more, that frees the soul and the spirit to be more in communion. And that's where the meditation comes in. And that communion, allows you to awaken and more and more to your full potential.
Yeah, definitely. Because when you start, from my own experience, as I was starting to eat the right food, starting to really vibrate at a higher frequency. And because of that, I was able to attract people and different circumstances. And I starting to change. Because, for example, before changing this plant-based nutrition, I didn't even know that meditation existed. I didn't know about spirituality. I was completely blind to these things. But just by doing that, it's like I was a walking dead. Mm-hmm. And just by doing that, it's like I was awakened in a different environment. I was starting to see things differently. Yes, it was a profound change. It was not only physical, but mental and spiritual as well.
The analogy that came to my mind when you were talking about that is as if you opened the door, you had the key, you use the key, you open the door, and it opened you into a new world, a new sphere, a new frequency or vibration that you didn't know was there until you decide to make a conscious and intentional change in what you eat.
So that's what happened. For most people, they don't know that. Like me, I didn't know that this reality could exist. It's just by eating a different way, I was able to start vibrating at a different frequency, and it's like my world just opened up to a different set of things, and I'm starting to uncover a lot of things. And that's why, for example, since 2017, I've stopped completely to watch TV. I don't watch TV anymore. I don't listen to the news anymore. Because I didn't want to let all this negative stuff get into my life. Because when you look at the news, for example, 99% of what they say, it's always negative. For example, they will tell you that a bank has been robbed, or a woman has been raped, or there's a war somewhere. Always it's negative. And I didn't want to burden my soul with all this negativity. Mm-hmm. So, for example, all these things I've been able to uncover, and I've changed completely my life.
It sounds like it. And you said something that's really powerful. Where we put our attention is where our experience will be. If we're putting our attention to the negativity in terms of the TV and it's 24/7 going on, and then we're wondering why we're feeling anxious or angry or upset or eating to try to comfort oneself with some of this negativity that has been taken into our auric field. And we're not aware of the fact is, where we put our attention is where we get more experience around. What you ended up doing was to say, I don't need all the static of the TVs and media filled with negativity. I want to fill my environment with positivity, with things that are uplifting, things that are helpful, things that are encouraging to the soul as well as to the individuals that you attract around you.
Exactly. That's exactly what I wanted to do. That's what I've been doing. The problem is when you start doing things like that, people around you will not understand. For example, my sisters, my mom, my cousin, they don't understand. Some people even thought that they made some comments saying that maybe starting to become crazy because I was not being the same the way I used to be, or the way most people are. For example, they will tell me, but Olivier, you need to know what's going on in the world. I said, no, I don't need that. If there's something important, I will know that one way or another. I will know that, but I don't have to immerse myself with things like that, or being around people who keep criticizing other people or talking negativity. So I'm really intentional now. I choose who I will be around with and stuff like that.
And because it's as if you're the salmon swimming upstream. Everyone's swimming downstream, but the salmon's very strong and swims upstream because it knows the goal and direction it wants to go in. Sometimes other people around us, now taking that to the everyday life that you're talking about, even though you maybe love your family, but they have a different mindset that's than yours. And it does require some strength and conviction to be able to say, this is who I am. Let me be who I need to be. If you wish to be who you need to be, that's fine. But sometimes that's the challenge in families because they always want you to revert back to how you used to be, as opposed to acknowledging how you are now and that you can grow and go past how you used to be.
A lot of people keep asking me, was it difficult to stop eating animal product and all these things? For me, it was not difficult. The stuff that was really difficult, it's the way my family is starting to treat me with and my friends as well. They didn't understand what I was doing. They thought that I was going crazy. I told them that you need to accept me the way I am now. If you really love me, because I'm not going to change. For example, just my hair. I didn't have long hair. I starting to grow my hair, and people starting to tell me, no, this is not good. Long hair is for women. Don't do that. Cut your hair. I said, just leave me alone. Accept me the way I am. I know why I'm doing that. You need to start accepting me the way I am. My old self has already died. Now I'm a new person. You need to accept me the way I am. Even because I lost a lot of weight, some people were saying that I was HIV positive and stuff like that. So I had a very, very bad comment. But I said to myself, and I said to themselves, you are wasting your time because I'm not going to change. I will be the way I am. I know why I've changed. I know all the benefits that I'm receiving from adopting my new way, mentally, spiritually, physically. And you guys need to, if you really say that you love me, you need to accept me the way I am. That was really difficult, but now people have accepted me the way I am, and now it's good to go. But for most people, even when they start changing with the pressure of the social pressure, they just stop and revert back to what they used to be, because people really want to always to be in a group. And when you start doing things differently, you need to be strong to continue on that way, even if you have to be alone.
Yeah, and that's where the challenge is some people don't want to be alone, but they're not realizing that aloneness is that oneness with yourself and your soul and the path that you need to be on. Many great avatars had to go it alone because they were misunderstood or felt to be crazy or really before their time. You are a trendsetter. That means you're ahead of the trend because you're setting it, and people just can't understand at the time until down the road they realize, oh, that's pretty cool. But if you would have reverted back, we would never have been the example of what it is to look healthy, have vitality, have youthfulness. They would never have that because you decided to revert back because of the pressures that were taking place. And you didn't do that.
Yeah, exactly. And that was really strong to be able to do that. Now, for example, all these people who used to make fun of me, to laugh at me. Now, these same people are coming to ask for advice because they've been able to see that for the past 8 years, I've not been sick a single day, not even a headache. And for the past 9 years, I've not taken a single pill, not even an aspirin. And now these same people are coming to ask me for advice. But in the past, they used to make fun of me. They used to say that I'm crazy. And now people have seen that what I was doing was the correct way.
Right, right. And what happens on a deeper level is the soul wants you to make sure you're consistently moving forward, regardless of the voices around you. Because on a soul path, we're moving to higher frequencies and vibrations by the choices and decisions that we make. And so what happens is that trendsetter, you're not realizing, but it feels like, oh my God, am I going to be alone all the time? But you're not alone. You have something within you that you're diving into that allows you to feel something greater than yourself, and knowing that this feels right, so I'm doing it. It seems right, and I can see the results, so I'm doing it. And that's what we all have to do. My family, they were trendsetters because my mother and father, people laughed at them because They wanted to live healthy and they wanted to make sure that their kids lived healthy. And so they would say no to things that people would give to them. And I said, no, that's not going to help. My mother would cook all the food because she went to the store, she read all the label on that and what's going on into that food. And she goes, I can cook this better. I can make the bread. I can saute things. She did because she felt, and my father felt, that a sound mind was because of a sound body. If your body was really working with you, then you have greater clarity of mind, heart, and soul to be in listening grace to the directions and steps you needed to take in your life. And it sounds like innately you did some of that, really separating a little bit from your family in order for you to get your direction and continue to movement. And then you said, you know what? If you're not helping me, then you need to stop telling me that I'm crazy, I'm this, I'm that. Stop it. If I don't want to watch social media, I have that right.
Yeah.
I don't want to do TV. I don't want to do media. I have that right. And so there's something within you that was always moving you forward, it sounds like, that was kind of helping you along the way. And I do believe that we have guardian angels. We do have this other presence that is trying to fortify you along with your soul to keep you moving in the right direction. Thoughts about that?
Yes, definitely. I'm sure that we've got our higher self, which will be there to continue to give you direction, to be there for you. I'm sure if it was only for myself, maybe I would have reverted back to being like everybody else. But I could feel inside of myself that I had to do something different. And for example, in my entire family, in all my friends, I'm the only one who hasn't got a 9-to-5 job anymore. I've got my own business and I'm the only one. Just because of that, and people starting to say, but why you need to have a secure job if you have your own business? It's not good. Well, I kept feeling that's what I have to do. That's what I have to do. And like you said, I'm sure we've got guardian angels who are there to make sure that you're on the right path. Because like I keep saying, I'd rather die trying what I want to do instead of just doing what people are doing. And then on my deathbed, I start regretting, oh, I should have done this and that. I just want to do what I feel that I have to do. If it's a mistake, then I will have to accept that mistake and maybe change my way. But until then, I will have to continue to do what I feel, which is right for me, instead of listening to other people, because we don't vibrate at the same frequency anymore. We don't see things the same anyway. Mm-hmm. That's why I really think that we've got some guardian angels. The universe is there to show you the way to go.
I totally agree with that. I think that when we get the conviction and we're saying that we're going to move in this direction that is a health-based direction, then the universe conspires to support us and help us along the way. That's a wonderful thing. But when we move from a point of fear, fear is not the vibration of the universe. Love is. The more that we can enjoy, have comfort, and show affection, be our best self, the more the universe says, how can we help? How can we guide? Ask. And one of the things that you ended up doing was surrendering certain aspects of yourself. Like you say, Paul says, I die daily, right? That you surrender certain aspects of yourself, and through that surrendering process, you were able to actually go through a fasting from the old in order to move you towards the new. It was like you, and this newness, most people didn't kind of say, it's like, who are you? Who are you?
Exactly. It's, for example, my mom, when I speak to her, she will tell me, Olivier, you're a different person. Now you don't listen to advice. Now you don't listen. You are stubborn. I said, no, the old Olivier that you knew is already dead. I'm a new person. Now you need to, it's not like I'm stubborn. I know what I'm doing. And you guys need to start seeing me as a different person. The old person is already dead. I'm a new person now, and I've got a new set of values. I see things differently. I've been able to unlearn a lot of things and learn new things, and that's why you think that I'm stubborn, but that's why I need to do.
Yeah, it's something you said earlier the world will try to continue to pull us in the old way because that's what it's used to. And so when we start to walk a different path, it's as if people say, this is not right for you. It's like, no, I can do my own thinking.
Yeah.
This could be right for me. And how can you accept it? And sometimes we have to ask those that are around us, that other seekers have the similar situation that happened to them. I would like you to ask me more of, why do I do what I do? And what benefits am I getting from what I'm doing? You asking me, the family members, the friends, the acquaintances, I can share more information because you've asked, but you haven't asked me that.
Yeah, exactly. That's what people need to do. Even for me, in my experience, when you explain to them why you're doing this or that, it's like you're living in two different worlds. They just don't understand what you're talking about. For example, when I say to people that I don't watch TV anymore for the past 7 years, they think that I'm crazy. They say, come to us. You try to explain to them that there's lots of fear. When you admit all the fear in your soul, it's not good. You will start vibrating low. They just don't understand that. They say, you need to know that you're an extremist and that's not good. So that's why, for example, with my family now, apart from my brother, who has been able to accept what I'm saying, with all the family members, I try not to talk about nutrition anymore. We don't talk about that. We try to talk about stuff that I would say not important. And when it's regarding myself, I try not to talk about all these things because we don't see things the same way. I didn't want us to be separated. So that's why I said, okay, we're not going to talk about stuff that we don't see the same way, so that we can still be in touch. So, yeah.
That's about a part of wisdom. One of the ways in which we're learning and living in the world when our way of life is different from family or friends is, what you can talk about and what you can't talk about. Why create more conflict or stress when it is not needed? They're just doing their way. And what you're trying to do is continue on your way. And there's, I've shared in other episodes as well, there's the high road, there's a low road, and there's also a middle road, one can take. But for those that are trying to strive for something more and greater, they're looking at how can I take the high road, which is in rising in frequency, which is rising awareness that what I did 2 years ago is not going to be the same as what I'm going to do now because I have greater wisdom to make better choices. And that's what the soul wants of us, to make better and better choices to continue to evolve and grow and to be more Christ-like, Buddha-like, whatever it may be that allows you to be in attunement and listening grace to hear, okay, what do you want from me, Lord? Because then the Lord will say, do this. You say, oh, yeah, I'm going to do that. You did it. It was like, that worked out superbly. Or, Lord, you say, in your own business, you say, Lord, bring me the right people that I can help by your grace. And so people start showing up. It's like, oh, okay. Thank you. And I think that's the other caveat to this, too. When you're walking a spiritual path, give gratitude to the things that are coming in your life. Even sometimes those things don't feel in the immediacy of the now. That was a great thing that happened. But after it happened, you realize, oh my God, that was a great thing that happened. I learned this, I learned that, and I know I'm not going to do this over here any longer.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of things which happen like that where we need to be really grateful. Or, for example, there's some stuff that happen, just like you said, you don't know that something good will happen, but after that, you see that it was good. I remember when I came to the UK, my wife has to come to the UK as well. I remember there was a day where I went to buy a car with one of my friends. We arrived at the place where we were supposed to buy the car, and I had the money and all that. We're trying to start the car, and the start wouldn't start anymore, even though it was working properly. And I was a really bit disappointed. I said, why it's not working? And what's happened is that the next day, my wife, she was still in the DRC, and she rang me and she said that she needs money because now she was able to come and join me back here in the UK. So if I had spent that money the previous day to buy that car, it would have been very difficult for her. But the car wouldn't start. And the next day I had the money and I was able to send it to her. In the moment, I was not happy. I wanted to buy this car. And the next day I used that money so that she can come and join me here in the UK.
That's a great example. That's a great example of how sometimes what looks to be a defeat or a disappointment actually be a blessing. And we're not realizing that these unseen forces, call them angels or whatever, higher self, they know more than we know sometimes of what's going to be happening and what's the need is. And that's why the word that came to my mind when you were sharing that is we have to surrender. Okay, this didn't work out. There must be a reason. I'm not happy about it, but I'm going to surrender it to something greater. And when we do that, then we start to be aware of, like you said, the next day, it was like, look at that. How wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for stopping me from buying that. It's the same thing, analogy I usually say that sometimes is that we think we really want this promotion and it's going to be the top of all things we ever wanted. And we didn't get it. We realized, my God, I'm so disappointed. I worked so hard. I did this, I did that to try to get this promotion. But then maybe a week later, after not getting that promotion, something even better comes along. And you realize, if I had gotten that promotion, I wouldn't have been able to set this better thing that had come along. And so that's where patience, and also when you're walking a spiritual path, it allows you to be able to know there's something more. If not this, Lord, then something greater will be coming my way.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of things like that which has happened in my life. For example, I was able to watch that Indian yogi who suggested that by stopping eating animal product, it was possible to reverse 70% of the chronic diseases. But where I used to work, I started to work after 3 months. They said there were not enough hours and they put me on a part-time basis. So instead of working full-time, I started to work part-time. At that time, I was really disappointed. I said, why this is happening to me? Because previous to that, 2 times I was already made redundant. And the third time that I was starting to work after 3 months, they told me that I should go and work part-time. Only because I started to work part-time, I had more time at home and I started to watch a lot of YouTube videos. And that's how I started to get into this spiritual stuff and all that. Wow. So now that I'm looking at my life, I see, if I continue to work full-time, I wouldn't have that chance. And that's why I keep saying to people, when something happened to you, don't be discouraged. Maybe it's a blessing in disguise. And that's a lot of things like that has happened to me in my life.
Mm-hmm. And when you bring up another point, which is wonderful. Yeah, I do believe a lot of things are blessings in disguise, even though I may not feel it like at the time. But the other thing you're talking about is by being made redundant in this last time, having to have more doing part-time work versus full-time life, it did something that the soul needs, is space. It needs space to discover and understand. It needs space for silence, to have a greater attunement, to inquire. But if we're always on the treadmill, work, thinking that's the direction that will lead to our success and happiness, we don't always realize God is trying to create some spaces for us to rethink and reconfigure that we wouldn't do otherwise. And there's nothing bad with working, There's nothing bad about working, but it's more of how you do that intentionally, but also know that the soul is asking you to take some spaces for reflection, for meditation, as you were saying earlier, for opportunity to say, what is going on here? What else do you want me to do? And you're asking your higher self, your inner self, your soul self, your Christic light that is within you, those types of questions.
Yeah, because I really think that if people could have more time for themselves, they will be able to go inward and to start discovering themselves. And usually because when you work 9 to 5, when you come back at home, you are tired, you don't have time for self-development, you don't have all this, you just go, you binge some TV and then you go to sleep and then you repeat. That's why I don't know how this word has been constructed, but for me, I think that if they can give people some time for themselves, they will be able to discover a lot about themselves, and they will be able to transform themselves. And that's why they keep us busy, so that we don't have the time to self-reflect and to go inward. For me, luckily, I was told that I don't have to work full-time anymore. I will work part-time. And that's why I was able to discover myself.
But you also had a gift that was innately given to you, it sounds like, in terms of the soul and these impressions, and it's wanting to help you to come alive. It wants all to come alive to a greater purpose. But you had the gift of curiosity. By being curious, looking at those videos, it's like, oh, let me learn some more. Let me learn some more. That curiosity opened a new world for you that you wouldn't have done otherwise, without that sense of, I need to do something else. And that's the urge of the soul, too. The soul says, there's something more. Keep looking. It'll come to you. Don't stop. Don't get diverted. Don't get derailed. Keep on the train. Keep it moving forward, because we're moving in a direction that's going to be to your higher good.
I think what you're saying makes sense, because when I look back, I will see that the first time when I was made redundant, I went to work to a different place. At that place, I remember because I was working as an optical lab technician, and in the lab, I was able to put music. In my first job, we were not allowed to do that. I was able to play music when I was working. So on my break, I didn't know what else to do. And that's why the idea came to me to start buying books so I can read during my break. And that's why starting to read books about spirituality and stuff like that. I lost that job after 3 months. And then I went to that third job over there when they told me that I had to work part-time. I already had that initial habit to want to read books on self-development, on spirituality. And that's why I'm starting to watch all these videos. I can see that it's connected. Maybe my soul had that longing for a long time. And just by having that break, I was able to unlock what was inside me.
I've said this before. My mom used to always say to me, God bless her, and she passed, she would say to me, your acre of diamonds is in your own backyard. The backyard is the self of yourself. The way in which we start digging things up and seeing the acre of diamonds is by reading, by being curious, by saying, what does this mean? You start reflecting in yourself about things that allows you to open your other avenues that you wouldn't have before if you were always externally focused and always trying to get the next thing out there, as opposed to taking time to reflect, taking time to be able to meditate. So what moved you towards meditation? Was it yogi that moved you towards that, or was there something else?
Yes, basically, yes, it's at yogi, because when I starting to listen to him and all that, and he's starting to talk about all this, the meditation, which is we need to go inwards, and that's why I'm starting to do that. And now it's really my routine. Every morning when I wake up, I do meditation, and I'm trying to live in the present, because most people live either in the past, and in the past they keep regretting, they keep seeing stuff that they didn't do which was correct, and stuff like that. Some people live in the future, where they start stressing themselves out because they're trying to imagine some situation or problems they will have to solve. For me, I've learned now to live in the present, because the future is not arrived yet. You can start thinking about stuff that will never even happen. The past is the past. You cannot change that. That's why I'm starting to live in the present. All this I've learned from listening to that Indian yogi. And after that, I'm starting to listen more to other people, to listen to books about self-development and all these things. So yeah, now I'm really curious about that. And I don't spend a day where I listen either to audio podcast or read a book about self-development or about being financially free and stuff like that. So I'm really into this now.
Wow. It sounds like you've gone from a path of less awareness to greater enlightenment, kind of moving up the mountain in consciousness and frequencies that allowed you to feel so much alive and engaged. And I love what you said about living fully in the present, because it's really hard sometimes to do. And most of us are trained to live in the past or live in the future, as you were making mention of. But living in the past and the future only gets us more anxiety and some other things. And living in the present means you have the faith that your own inner wealth of wisdom will give you the awareness of what you need to do and how you need to do it. And know that you're blessed. So the old statement goes, you're too blessed to be stressed. That's a great statement to hold on to.
Yeah, definitely. So that, and unfortunately for most people, we are trained to live either in the past or in the future. People don't have that awareness that they need to live in the present, because that's the only life that we have. The past is already past. The future has not happened yet. And maybe it will not even happen the way you are thinking in your mind. Your life, it's the present, it's now. And most people don't know that, because we have not been trained that way. Most people live in the past, they keep regretting, and that's not good. That's not good. But when you have some time, just like me, I had that break, I was able to turn inwards, to start listening to podcasts, to audio books and stuff like that. And that's why my life has been completely changed, and most people don't understand me anymore.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, at least the people of the past, but the present people probably have a greater awareness and appreciation to who you are, which is a wonderful discussion we're having here. And so if you were to want to leave a phrase or a statement to our seekers who are looking at how am I developing, and what is going to be important to me as I'm moving forward, as we've been talking about, eat to thrive and unlocking youthfulness and vitality.
Yes, if I have to give a statement, I would say that when we are born on this earth, the most important thing that we have, it's our body, it's our temple, and we've only got one. So we need to make sure that we do everything we can so that we can have a longer and fruitful life. We are the master of our lives, and we've got the power to change whatever we want.
Wow, that is so true. And one of the paths that you have found that has been most powerful is in having a plant-based diet that frees you in your consciousness in a way that you would never been freed. So it's been a delight to have this conversation, Olivier. And we're going to do a part 2. So, Olivier, where they can find you or reach you if they wanted to, as we're winding down.
Yes, if they want to find me, they can go on my website, which is mankondo.com. Over there, they will be able to find everything about me. They will be able to find my book, which is the Plant-Based Nutrition, How It's Going to Change Your Life. They can go over there, or book a discovery call with me, because I help primarily women over 30 to lose weight and live a disease-free life. That's where people can find me at my website, oliviermankondo.com.
I think what they also get with you, not just about the losing of the weight, but they get an awareness of how to shift consciousness through the process of having someone to coach them in terms of plant-based eating and living. So thank you, seekers, for tuning in to this episode. And please be tuned to the next time that we have Olivier come on to talk about another topic area that is going to be intriguing and helpful as you're moving forward in your life. Take care.
Thank you for joining me for this episode on Mastering Life's Adventures, being your best self through soul evolution. If you have enjoyed what you've heard today, I would be delighted if you would share this episode with others, leave a thumbs up, and subscribe to my Mastering Life's Adventures podcast. Look forward to your joining the next episode. Please leave any comments or suggestions you might have below. Bye for now.